The Story of Cinderella. Once upon a time, there was a beautiful girl named Cinderella. Cinderella's mother died while she was a very little child, leaving her to the care of her father and her stepsisters. Now, Cinderella's stepsisters did not love her and were very unkind to her. As she grew older, they made her work as a servant and even sift the cinders. When Cinderella reached the age of 17, the king of the country put on a huge ball to which all ladies of the land were invited, except Cinderella. She said, "I wish I could go to the ball." Suddenly, a fairy godmother appeared and said, "Do not cry, Cinderella. You also shall go to the ball because you are a kind, good girl. Bring me a large pumpkin." Cinderella obeyed, and the fairy, touching it with her wand, turned it into a grand coach. Then she desired Cinderella to go to the trap and bring her a rat. The girl obeyed, and a touch of the fairy's wand turned him into a very smart coachman. 2 mice were turned into footmen, 4 grasshoppers into white horses. Next the fairy touched Cinderella's rags, and they became rich satin robes, trimmed with point lace. Diamonds shone in her hair and on her neck and arms, and her kind godmother thought she had seldom seen so lovely a girl. Her shoes became a charming pair of glass slippers, which shone like diamonds. "Now go to the ball, my love," she said, "and enjoy yourself. But remember, you must leave the room before the clock strikes 12. If you do not, your dress will return to its original rags." Cinderella kissed and thanked her godmother. Then she stepped into her coach and drove off, with her footman behind, in great style. The fairy, when she was gone, returned to fairyland. When she arrived at the ball, Cinderella was so beautiful that everybody looked at her and wondered who she was. And the prince asked her to dance with him, and afterwards would dance with no one else. But in the midst of her enjoyment, Cinderella remembered the fairy's command, and at 11:30 glided out of the room and ran home again. She ran through the palace as fast as she could go, but as she reached the hall, she lost one of her precious glass slippers. She did not stop to pick it up, but rushed to the door. Alas, the clock had struck 12. She found no coach, only a pumpkin, and the rat and mice ran quickly away when they saw her, while all her fine dress turned to rags, and she had to run home alone in the darkness of the night. The prince ran from the ball in search of Cinderella, but no one had seen her, and when an inquiry was made of the porter, he said that no one had gone out of the palace except a poor ragged beggar girl. However, the prince's search was rewarded by his finding the glass slipper, which he well knew belonged to the unknown princess. He loved Cinderella so much that he now resolved to marry her, and as he felt sure that no one else could wear such a tiny shoe as hers was, he sent out a herald to proclaim that whichever lady in his kingdom could put on this glass slipper should be his wife. All while the prince searched for his princess, Cinderella returned to her life of cleaning and begging. Days went by until the prince knocked on her door and asked if the ladies inside could try on the glass slipper. Her stepsisters tried to fit it over their fat feet, but the slipper would not fit. Finally, Cinderella tried it on, and it fit just perfect. The prince asked if he was her princess at the ball, and Cinderella replied, "Yes, it is my shoe, and I was the princess." So Cinderella was married to the prince in great state, and they lived together very happily. She forgave her sisters and treated them always very kindly, and the prince had great cause to be glad that he had found the glass slipper.